feel like it's not represented super well here, STEM.
Honestly, I thought AU was a research institution.
I think there's a ton of really cool research that's happening on campus. You just kind of have to look for it.
Faculty here do amazing things. It's just mind-boggling to think about.
There's a lot of really exciting research that goes on in my department and that has been going on since I started here. And I would say we've been doing R1 caliber research the whole time.
It's exciting in some ways that we are now an R1 institution. I think that for my own research, I don't know that it changes that much.
I can't say it's really affected anyone's life that much. I know the administration is excited about it, but I think it's kind of like when you complete a birthday or something. Like, do you really feel different when you go from being like 10 to being 11? It's like you're only one day older. And that's kind of how it is with this. It's like we crossed a line, but we're not really very different on the other side of it. But I don't know, I feel like the important thing is to like do what you love, not, the recognition is nice, but it's like extra bells and whistles, I think.
R1 is just another rung in the ladder of, we're getting more recognition, more prominence.
From my perspective, that's a huge step, because that means the university is doing more elaborated research. The university and faculty and also researchers and the university are making more impact in the community, the scientific community, not only local or in the United States, but also in the world.
I've been successful here. AU has supported me. We have great students, both graduate and undergraduate students that have worked on the projects. But I think just in general, it's great to have, a big group, more and more faculty who are working in research and interested in research and possibilities for doing more.
The future is bright, that we're going to keep on increasing our stature in terms of research in the field, and that in turn will bring more colleagues and more students who are greatly interested in research and adept at it, and that means that we keep on increasing our profile, I'd say, in that way.
It's a recognition of our past achievement, right, in terms of both research productivity and also the investment in the research facility and infrastructure, right? But that's just a milestone we reached, right? But what it means is that down the road, can we keep it, right?
The other thing I believe about being an R1 is that it's more of a classification that occurs. It's not like something you apply for and get. It's like if you reach certain criteria, then suddenly you're an R1. And so I think it was just something that happened.
The main reason that AU is now an R1 is because they changed the way they define R1 status, made it less complex.
Many years ago, I looked at what it would take to be R1, and there was a 10-point criteria, and it was some kind of, no one really understood what it was and how you could make it. But the criteria is that you have at least 70 PhDs, doctoral students, and that you have at least $50 million in research funding. The important thing is that the Carnegie Institute looked at 3,927 institutions, and 187 of them got R1 status.
AU becoming an R1 institution has been a goal for over a decade that was kind of first put into words by Provost Scott Bass, who was the provost when I started here.
I've been here 23 years, and there's been a substantial shift in resources for the sciences, the building. There was a provost, Scott Bass, when he was provost, a couple provosts ago, around 2009. So it's been a while. But he went out and he bought science equipment for the science people, like a bunch of it, for people who he felt were being kind of held back a little bit because of the infrastructure. And he wanted to invest in the sciences because that was clearly a potential growth area.
I think certainly over the time I've been at AU, there's been an increased emphasis on research.
We've really expanded the infrastructure and the dollars that are put into research. But now that we're in R1, when I came here, we weren't even in R2. I don't even know what the designation was called, but in, I think, 2015, we became an R2, which is, like the sort of the next step, and then now we're in R1. So we have been building this vision and the structure, the infrastructure and resources to support it for 15 years, at least.
The sciences have been, we have a new building, right? This building's 5 years old. That represents a very significant, concrete, I would say, investment in the future of science at AU.
One of the things, if you look around, this building, right, 2020, brand new building, big investment by the university, and I'm sure that this building can pay off, not only in providing resources for students, but also attracting faculty. And again, part of the R1 designation requires that you have a substantial amount of money that comes in from the outside every year. And a facility like this makes it much easier to attract people who can generate those kinds of funds.
We're in a budget crunch right now, so the university is, working on a strategic plan, right, which includes research as one of the pillars of the strategic plan, and sort of, lots of discussions are going on about how to support the perpetuation and expansion of the research and what sorts of resources are needed.
So in the sciences, it's going to cost a lot more to bring in a faculty member than it might cost to bring in somebody in literature who doesn't need that kind of equipment to be excellent in what they do. In that case, universities, in the sense that they have any kind of financial pinches, are going to be much more, how should I say, cautious in terms of who they hire.
But then we also have a financial challenge, right? And so we lay off some staff, which includes some of our research supporting staff members, right? And that is not the right direction, right? Because we just reached the R1 status, and then you are cutting research supporting staff, right?
I would say hire more faculty and establish, expand the heliophysics program here and make stronger connections with Department of Computer Science and funding agencies like the ones I mentioned, NASA, DOD, and NSF.
We also have to keep our a close mentor-mentee relationship between us and our undergraduate students, right? So, and that's what AU is known for. We work really closely with our students, right? And we don't want to lose that.
I really hope AU starts prioritizing STEM research more, specifically the neuroscience program. We're one of the fastest growing majors at AU, and I think they should be supporting the research and the classes that they're offering so that these incoming neuroscience majors can have the awesome research experience that I had.
We're just doing what we do. So we're doing things the way we've done them for the last since we became faculty members. It's just there's support for technology that helps us be more efficient and productive teachers with better communication, hopefully.
The goals, I would say, at least in our program, have not changed dramatically. We want to continue to do a great job of mentoring students who are going into research careers and be productive ourselves. But at the same time, in our little neck of the woods, there's still an emphasis on professional training in the sense of enabling students to become excellent at therapy and assessment as well as research productivity.
Our STEM programs are really good, and we have like really good professors, and we have really good like labs, but no one ever really talks about it.
If you care about science, I feel like you're probably looking at different schools.
Our strongest majors are not considered ones that are super research focused, but I know we have a great sort of like policy school, and I know that can be something that can be done with more research that's able to do more, conduct more studies, conduct more sort of interviews, conduct more like labs,
American University is like the DC school. It's known for that. It's got like a lot of political and SPA, SIS stuff here.
I think where AU really hits its stride is in the social sciences. So I think a lot more research, a lot more polling coming out of AU, like with regards to sociology, anthropology, stuff like that, would be good. But also like being more interested in political science.
AU is not traditionally seen as a science school. And the biggest school, of course, I think it's still SIS. And then SPA is huge. And then the School of Communication. There's like all the other schools. And the College of Arts and Sciences has all these departments, and we're a little tiny part of that. But becoming an R1 institution makes us have a higher profile. And what'll happen is when the schools are talking to each other, because they always do, AU's name will come up more often because we did get a change in designation. That means that things are changing here and have really, really changed the last 20 years.
I think this is great for the school, and especially the STEM program here, because it's not like one of the things that AU is known for, but it is like always developing and has been developing over time, and it's getting better and better. So just even like finding out that we're like a top research school at all is like interesting, and actually like gives me kind of hope, because I was like, is this school like right for me in terms of like STEM? So just knowing that like kind of gives me like a little like boost, and like I'm in the right place and this is like what I want to do kind of thing.
I would say it's actually really it gives me a lot of optimism to hear that we're an R1 school, especially considering a lot of like the different majors that are here that are like very like research heavy. It's like very good to hear that like AU is staying on top of like providing different like research opportunities for students. I think it'll be very beneficial for the students. First, I would like to say that it'll probably be a really good like selling point to get more students to come to the school, especially considering that I feel that like being in Washington DC, a lot of students come to do research or to be active in analyzing either politics or whatever like social studies or like STEM majors they do.
I think it's going to give us a new level of sort of approval, sort of like accreditation, that is going to really help students in the way that they're going to have more research, more access to more research, and it's also going to make AU look better for all graduates, not just people doing specific research, but for people graduating AU could say, I'm from a R1 research institution, I'm able to have this sort of, I had this experience, and I had these resources.
People will come to the school more for the like academic and research capabilities. Like if they know that we have this designated status of like R1 institution.
It might attract more like STEM students to apply, which could, I guess, increase the competitiveness. And one thing that I really like about our STEM community is how like nice people are to each other and how like uplifting.
I hope that it'll mean that people who have a research-focused degree that graduate from AU have a little bit more prestige
AU's already known for being pretty diverse, but it's a very like humanitarian school, and I think being able to capture like humanitarian studies and also scientific studies will like make it more diverse. And it'll definitely attract more STEM students.
I think it'll definitely improve our reputation. I think like potential students, when they're looking at schools, if research is something that they're passionate about, they're gonna see us being an R1 school as a good sign.
I'm hoping it'll make our resumes look better, but also the projects going on here at AU will have more of an impact in their disciplines.
We sort of have a higher profile now, right? And the expectation is going to be higher too, right? Because you are a R1, right? And it also means that because you are in R1, you may have more people willing to collaborate with you, because that's sort of like a reputation.
It's conceivable that R1 status may attract other kind of private donors, right? And then the criteria for that is different than you might see in NIH, which is much more competitive with respect to panels reviewing grants and so on. And so I think that there are some potential benefits for sure. I'm not so sure that it would happen with respect to getting more NIH grants or anything like that, but more media attention, other people hearing us, the fact that we're put in a kind of exclusive class that we weren't in before, and I think those are important.
In this environment, with federal money being withheld, it's extremely difficult. It's a very difficult environment for the sciences right now. And everybody in the science world and the people, and it's not just science, right? So it's all aspects of federal funding, so that gets into the arts and humanities too. They're all getting pinched.
I'm a sociologist. Like we're inserted in a context, where resources are becoming less available.
We've mostly relied on federal funding from the U.S. Geological Survey, NOAA, EPA, NSF. I think what is most likely going to be affected is grants going forward. Because I have a large grant that's taking up a lot of my time, I haven't really been putting in new proposals in the past year, but some of my colleagues who have said that the processes seem slower, the program officers also often don't really know what's going on.
I know there's been a selective decrease in things like health, right? And that was not an issue in the previous administration. So I think things were holding quite steady in the previous administration. And as of now, again, it's difficult to predict where this administration will end up. They made some proposals that will seem to decrease funding, but at the same time, the Congress has to, in previous administrations, for example, the previous Trump administration, the budget was going to be cut by 20% to NIH, for example. And the Congress said no and put the money back in and even a little bit more. So that hasn't been decided yet.
I've had mostly NIH grants, which is National Institutes of Health. But for the college, more generally, it's quite a pretty wide range of portfolio. I did have my most recent NIH grant was terminated early, so I don't have that big grant anymore. So now I'm trying to figure out how to do some of my work with smaller amounts of resources.
Being a researcher at NASA now is very difficult, and we have lost many people. Since my PhD 10 years ago, funding has been kind of steady. But now there was a significant cut by nearly 50%.
Getting funding and resources, the biggest challenge is just that it's extremely competitive. There has never been remotely close to enough funding, certainly in clinical psychology, but I believe this is the case in all other scientific fields as well.
It's very hard to predict the future. That's the most difficult part of it, is we don't know where to go. The courts are deciding what's legal and what isn't.
I'm basically an optimist, even though I'm not very, it's a hard time to be optimistic, but I try to stay optimistic.